All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Such wonderful attendance. We're so excited to have this topic tonight. We did a survey and a lot of folks wanted to have an info session with the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates again. And so we're so excited to offer this opportunity. If you're not familiar, my name is Sharon Logan and I am INRC's Neighborhood Services Director. I'm excited to have you all here with us tonight and choosing to spend your beautiful evening with us here on Zoom. So tonight we're welcoming Susan and Selenge as our facilitators. Susan is the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate for Area 6, which is the near northwest area, and Selenge has Area 5, which is just a little bit further north, but also in the northwest corner of the city as well. Both Susan and Selenge will be sharing with you all a little bit more information around, actually, I'm going to pause for 1 second. As everyone is coming in, if you can mute yourselves, there will be a time to be able to come off of mute and do Q&A and ask questions, but to make sure that everyone can hear, if you'll make sure to mute yourselves. And I know as people come in, they're going to have to mute themselves as well. So there's always that kind of moment. I know for me, it's happened before as well. Okay, so what I was saying is both Selenge and, oh, it's still hearing a little bit more. I'll wait for just a second. Okay, perfect. So both Selenge and Susan will be sharing with you a little bit more information around what MNA's role is, how they can help empower neighborhood voices and neighbor voices, and how they can help build relationships while also navigating Request Indy and the Mayor's Action Center. Also, as I shared earlier, at the end of this session, we are going to have time for Q&A. We have that built into the agenda. So make sure to think about your questions, write them down. We would love to have a really interactive session at the end where you can just ask questions to both Susan and Selenge and maybe any other MNAs that are on the call as well. So I will hand over the mic to both Susan and Selenge, and I will now mute myself. So the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharon, for that warm introduction. And I just wanted to ask first, is there anyone needing a Spanish translation today? Okay, I don't think there is anyone. Well, again, my name is Susan Martinez. I am the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate for the Near Northwest. Selenge, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Selenge Musamuna, and I'm the MNA for Area 5, which is Pike Township, a little bit of Wayne, Speedway, and Claremont. I don't know if the other MNAs on the call, if you guys wanted to introduce yourselves to start.
I can introduce myself. Hello, everyone. My name is Carrington Sanders. I'm the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate for the Center Northeast Side area, which is the Martindale-Brightwood area neighborhood.
I will go next. Hi, everyone. I'm unable to join via video, but my name is Jacob Barnes, and I am the Near East Side MNA.
I am Sandra Giliberto, and I'm with Southdale Neighborhood Association.
Okay, is there any other MNAs on the call? Can I continue?
Lassima is here. I believe she's having a hard time with sound, so we can introduce her. Lassima Packett is the MNA for Area 9, which is the center southeast, Fountain Square, Twin Air, and other neighborhoods in that surrounding area. And I can introduce myself as well. I'm Brittany Crone. I am the new Director of Community Outreach, overseeing this wonderful, talented team of Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates.
I'm Jenny Manales, and I am the MNA for Area 3, which is the Franklin Township, Southdale, and Beech Grove area, and Perry.
Hello, I did get my sound fixed and Brittany was nice enough to introduce me. I'm Lasima Packett and I do have Area 9.
Thank you. I think that is it. I will go ahead with our presentation. So you guys are going to hear us say MNA a lot, but just for those who do not know, it stands for Mayor's Neighborhood Advocates. Trying to see where, okay, there we go. So what we are is a team of liaisons or connectors that are based out of the mayor's office. And we are dedicated to communicating with and advocating for residents, community groups, and local businesses in our assigned areas within Marion County. We're also full-time city employees, and we work outside of traditional hours to attend neighborhood meetings and be accessible. What that means is sometimes you may see us over the weekends or after normal business hours at neighborhood meetings or even events, cleanups and stuff like that, which is what we mean when we say outside of traditional office hours. So Marion County is divided into 10 areas with the 10 corresponding MNAs, and that's like everybody that introduced themselves, and we have a few that are assigned to the remaining areas who weren't able to join today. And over here is our areas, like I said, I am Area 5, which is Pike Township, Speedway, Claremont, and a little bit of Wayne, so this is me right here. So what we do is we work to resolve issues and we act as a bridge to manage relationships with neighborhood stakeholders and leaders to ensure full transparency and understanding. And so our work as MNAs is a two-way street. We provide residents a communications link to the mayor's office and county agencies. We also connect residents, community organizations, and businesses directly to city government. A little bit more of what we do over here, some of our daily responsibilities. We attend neighborhood meetings, like I said, homeowners association meetings, community group meetings. We also share relevant municipal information, including health, crime, budget, and seasonal updates. We also connect neighbors with funding opportunities, like the INRC opportunities. We also educate neighbors about zoning ordinances, rezoning, variance procedures, and permitting issues. We maintain a physical and digital community presence for the mayor's office. You could reach us by our cell phones, emails, and then you could also meet us at like our office hours if you wanted an in-person meeting or something like that. We also assist in the creation of new neighborhood associations and community partnerships. And we provide direct service to communities, beautification efforts and stuff like that. We work with organizations like KIB in that line. We serve as a resource for residents and neighborhood organizations and educate the public about Request Indy, the MAG, and municipal democratic processes, which the MAC is something I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys may be familiar with. So like I said before, you could call us or email us if you want to share requests for municipal government agencies. If it's just like neighborhood news you wanted to share, if you have questions about municipal services or opportunities, and also to maintain regular district-based public meeting times for community conversation. So how you could find us is you could go to www.indy.gov and you would just type Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate in the search bar. You click on it and then begin typing your address. It typically auto-populates and then it'll show you who your neighborhood advocate is, their contact information, and then you'd be able to reach us like that, because sometimes we do split like townships and stuff like that. So I do not have the whole of Wayne Township. I share it with my coworker. And so if you were on the other side of Wayne Township, maybe you're in my area or you're there. So this is a really handy tool. And that's my little portion of my presentation. So I will hand over to Susan before we begin Q&A.
Thanks, Solange. Okay, so the next portion here, if you can go forward there, is another way of how to find your mayor's neighborhood advocate. You can also contact the Mayor's Action Center to find out our contact information and how to reach us. The Mayor's Action Center number is listed right here, and their hours are normal business hours, 5 days a week, and they also they serve, as a 311 line for the city. They can take any complaints that you might have about, I know they get a lot of pothole requests, a lot of illegal dumping, a lot of graffiti now that it's getting to be summertime. And if it's something that you would like to reach your MNA about, but you want to go through the MAC, you can say, hey, do you mind passing this along to my mayor's neighborhood advocate? Or if it's something that requires someone to follow up with you, they will send those requests over to us, and we will look into them and reach you about those. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so a few FAQs, some frequently asked questions that we get while we're out and about in neighborhood association meetings. So a lot of people ask, hey, like I've placed a request through the MAC and I haven't heard back yet. How do I get an update about that? So MNAs are happy to help with that. You can provide us either the address of the complaint. So for example, if it was a pothole, you can give us the approximate address that you gave during your call. Or you can also provide us with the MAC confirmation number if you take note of those. And even if you're not reaching out to us, those confirmation numbers are super helpful to have if you're trying to reach any other city agency to get some support on about that request. So we can help with that as well. We can provide updated information or even reach out to city agencies on your behalf and get you some of those updates that you need. So some other questions that we get is, we'd love to have you at an event, or we'd love to collaborate with you or someone from the city, like have them at our neighborhood association meeting or something like that. We can help with that as well. I know I'm currently working on a collaboration between the Department of Public Works and the Mapleton Fall Creek Neighborhood Association to have an event talking about public road construction in the area. So if you're interested in having one of us or someone else from the city at one of your neighborhood meetings, definitely reach out to us and we can help facilitate that conversation. On that same kind of note, we would like to have someone from the mayor's office present at a neighborhood event. So for example, a lot of people have cleanups around this time. A lot of people have parades with Juneteenth coming up. I know there's a lot of events coming and people would like the mayor or one of our deputy mayors there. You can reach out to us as well and we can help get in contact, get you two in contact so that can happen. Okay, go ahead to the next slide, please. Okay, thank you. So we provide support to neighbors with city grants as well. So for example, the city of Indianapolis has a variety of funding opportunities that are available for applications throughout the year. So your MNA can be a resource to provide assistance in acquiring and understanding city permitting through business and neighborhood services and the Department of Public Works with Indy Parks. So a good example of that is the INRC grant that is from the city but facilitated through INRC. And we are a big player, I guess, in the execution of those grants. So how we help is we help neighborhoods understand what kind of permitting they need for their project, if any, and we provide those applications and facilitate any conversations that have to be had with the city. Oh, Sorry, I just heard a little feedback there. Thank you for muting. So we can also help find answers to questions about the grants as well. So if you have any questions about if you qualify for a certain grant, I know for INRC there are a few ways that you can find out if you're eligible. We can help in that process as well. So we can also help connect applicants with other city departments who can provide further support. So, for example, there are people with, beautification projects and parks related projects. We can connect them to Indy Parks to learn more about, what's possible in those types of scenarios. So next slide, please. Okay, so a few of the grants that are available through the city. So Mayor's Office grants, there's obviously the INRC program that we've spoken on a little bit. So it's administered by INRC and designed to support the engagement, collective action, and increased development of all neighborhoods and neighborhood-based organizations. And applications for round 4 open in October. So that is one that is run through the mayor's office. There is a grant, it's called INIP, that runs through the Department of Public Works. So that is the Indianapolis Neighborhood Infrastructure Partnership. So from December to February of 2022, December to February, I guess, of this year, because it is rolling. DPW accepts proposals from community-based organizations for the annual public infrastructure projects under a cost share award program, where 50% of award amount must be matched by the applicant. So, for example, if you have like a certain portion of your street that you would like to have redone, you speak with DPW engineers to kind of get an estimate of how much that would cost with city involvement, and then you put your organization, you put 50% of the cost towards that project if you are selected, and then the city puts the other half of that. So that's that for DPW grants. And OPHS, the Office of Public Health and Safety, has some grants as well. There is the Elevation Grant Program, the Community-Based Violence Prevention Partnership, and the Indy Food Fund is available through OPHS as well. And you can find more information on any of these really on the indy.gov website. Lastly, the Department of Metropolitan Development has the most grants you can, get some funding for. Vacant to Vibrant is a large one that started this year. Community Development Block Grant as CDBG grants are available as well. Home Investment Partnership Program, and a few others through the Department of Metropolitan Development. So to find out about any of those, you can go on indy.gov and go on the department's page on their webpage on indy.gov, and you can find more information on these grants. And next slide. Okay, so this last slide just has all of our contact info and information for everyone in the area. So yeah, and I think now we can open it up to questions. And please provide your name and neighborhood affiliation along with your question if you're asking it in the chat or if you're asking it out loud, please.
Good evening. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Yeah, James, I was going to
Okay.
mention what you shared. Go for it.
Okay. I'm James Whitfield, president of Highland Vicinity Neighborhood Association. And I'm a little at a dilemma here about our mayor's action individuals. Susan is supposed to be our go-to person. And what we do need to talk, Susan, we really need to have a sit down talk and see where we're missing out at. And then one thing I'm kind of at a dilemma with, you were talking about 50% on street projects. I mean, the taxes are high enough as it is, you know, and we've been complaining about a situation in which I just sent you a chat on the 29th and Capitol Street there, which we've been complaining for 2.5 years. We need to address that, and the neighbors are pretty much upset about it. So, but a little something about us, Highland vicinity, we would like to, we're having our meetings once, the second Monday of each month. And usually we have it at Ivy Tech, 5th floor, room 521. If not, we're usually now, since summertime, we're having it different locations on the outside. And so we can pretty much pinpoint some of the issues that we have with our area. And also we're having our cleanup this coming Saturday. So all hands are welcome, and we'll be glad to have anyone who would like to participate with their gloves. I have plenty of gloves and shovels and rakes and so forth. And I just found out today that we weren't able to get a Packer truck at the last minute. So we were, I was told that we can get a dumpster, which I was really looking forward to the Packer trucks, because we can get all of our area pretty much taken care of. So we'll have to go with that in June, latter in probably the 3rd week in June with the Packer trucks. So they did have a little forgiveness there to help us out a little bit, but we will be having the dumpster in our area. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. Whitfield. Apologies that I haven't been able to go to the past couple of meetings there, but I just had some other like obligations because of April is super busy for us, and my apologies. But yeah, are there any other questions? Oh, I see.
I was gonna say, I think D has their hand up, and then there's a couple in the chat that we'll get to.
Okay.
Hi, my name's Dee Alderman. I live in the Garfield Park area, and I run Graham's Gardens. It's a nonprofit donation garden. Our street has been identified as one of the ones that's going to be getting the full reconstruction down to the base kind of thing. We're a 2-block dead-end street with about 8 houses that do not have access to. They're technically alleys, but they're garage access. They don't go anywhere because we're pinned down between Shelby and 65. We have about 8 houses that don't have garage access. So I've been for about 3 months trying to find, or since they notified us that it was going to happen, trying to find out when it's going to start, because we have a lot of people that need to figure out where they're going to park. And at one point when they were doing the construction on Shelby, we were relegated to having to use alleys to get out of our neighborhood. We didn't have access to any paved streets. So I've gone to the city county council, I've gone to the state. I don't know how to get this information on when. We're not demanding to know how long, what all you're going to do. We just want to know when you're going to start and if we have to be off the street.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I know there are a lot of questions surrounding just like in the city as a whole about capital improvement projects. I think that might be Carrington, that might be your area. Is that right?
No, that should probably be my area.
Okay.
Part.
Okay.
So I can put my email address in the chat for you, Jean, and if you could just follow up with me that way.
Thank you, will do.
Okay, thank you.
So I wanted to also just name, there's a couple things in the chat. Lasima, I appreciate you being on the call. I know Lasima is, I think, our newest mayor's neighborhood advocate to the team. So I appreciate you being on the call and knowing that we'll get through these questions together. There is a question also, and this one's also in Christian Park. And it was a question around supporting a church in the neighborhood with a historical landmark. David, I don't know if you want to come off mute and if you had anything you wanted to add to what you were asking.
I can
Yes,
come off mute. This is David By. Hopefully I correctly stated the question, but I've been submitting MAC tickets for a couple of years now. I got to say, BNS is great. They're very responsive. All the inspectors communicate well. I get phone calls, I get texts, I get emails back from them when they're on the site inspecting a MAC ticket. And then they write it up and it gets closed, and that's the end of it, even if the issue's never closed. So sometimes they're passed off to the homeowners to deal with a citation. Sometimes they're passed off to DPW to do the work. But regardless, the ticket gets closed and I cannot therefore tell if it ever got done. And I wonder if we can not extend the system such that tickets never get closed until the work is actually completed.
Yeah, so that's actually, oh, Brittany, do you want to speak to that?
Sure, Susan, thank you. Yeah, and thank you, David, for bringing that up in this space. I think that is a sentiment that many of our community members share, ourselves included, with the Mayor Neighborhood Advocate team. So this is something that we are actively looking at. I'm very new to my role, but we also have a new Mayor's Action Center administrator who is working diligently with myself as well as Deputy Mayor Thomas to address those kinds of gaps that older systems created for us. So this is something that we've absolutely flagged and we appreciate bringing up here, something that we look to address within, this year, just how we could create that consistent record across the different platforms that talk to one another. That way we can really see how long an issue is taking to be resolved, number one, and improve that, but also so that it doesn't create that kind of confusion and leave, our community feeling like, oh, well, my issue has not been resolved yet. I can't get any updates on it. We're looking to improve that. So thank you very much, David, for bringing that up.
Yeah, and just to add to that a little bit, so when you see a ticket close for the Mayor's Action Center, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's closed and that the problem is resolved. It just means that the issue has now been sent over to the proper authorities, I guess. Business and Neighborhood Services or DPW are the most common folks that those complaints go to. So it doesn't necessarily mean that they didn't find any issues with the complaint or are done dealing with it, but you can definitely ask us to kind of check in on that complaint, give us the location of it, and we can check in through our means and through our connections to see what progress has been made there as well.
With all due respect and real quick, there are times when a call is, a report is made and it's closed, and you can go on Citizens Access Portal and see that they closed it within a couple of hours as no violation when it's obviously still right there. And it tends to happen when we have an interim inspector.
Yes, so with that as well, I actually encountered this the other day for the first time, that I had an issue very similar. I was really confused because I knew there was an issue present. I had put in a MAC request about it. I looked it up on the Citizens Access Portal through Acela, which is like the term we use for it, and saw that a lot of the tickets were closed about it. It was very confusing. Sometimes that means that there's been multiple reports about the same thing by multiple different neighbors, and they just close they keep one ticket open where they're, processing it, and they close the rest. And as more tickets come, they close those, which is not helpful because, you're logging in and you see that, the ticket has been like quote unquote resolved or quote unquote closed. That's not the case. I don't know if that's the case for your specific issue. But that is very common, and it's confusing, and that's something that, with the things that Brittany mentioned, updating the system and making it more, user friendly, that hopefully that will change.
And sometimes with technology, it doesn't quite capture what we need it to do, right? I think everyone on this call, the last several years, especially, we've probably all reached our point of frustration with technology. And while we work to improve the systems at hand, we are still here as the mayor's advocate, neighborhood advocate team. That is a function of why this team exists, so that when you're noticing those kinds of issues and the MAC request got closed and you're looking at it like, this is still important to me, this is still an issue, we are here to be that human connection and that link to additional resources to get you all the support you need. We can't fix everything, of course. There are limitations, and there are issues that will arise that take a lot more time than even we would like to say, but just being as authentic and honest with you all as we can be, that's why this team is here. So when those issues do arrive, please, do not hesitate to reach out to your neighborhood advocate. You can also reach out to me. My contact information is in the chat in a few different places, and I'm sure Sharon will put out the presentation with my contact information on it as well. So we're here to support you, even when these kinds of gaps exist. We definitely want to help connect you to the right person, get answers where we can, and just continue to collaborate with you on different solutions.
Okay, I see a few people with their hand up. I'm gonna look at the
So Joyce would have been first. I think it goes in order, and then Stephanie after that.
okay, yes, Joyce, whenever you're ready.
Yes, I have some properties on Indianapolis Avenue between 25th Street. And several times I've reported on both sides of the street. Alleys have been confiscated by neighbors and used as parking lots. And on the east side of the street, people have actually built fences in the middle of the alley. And I don't understand how they can just confiscate property like that. And I've reported it and nothing has happened. It's still being used as private driveways. And, the fences are still built on the alley. And the other thing is, there's always a lot of dumping because there's a lot of rehab going on. And so people would dump on our land. And it was obvious, especially with the lady next door, that the trash was hers because it was her shingles or her siding and everything. When I called the city and said, hey, this wasn't me. And they said, well, it's on private property. There's nothing I can do. But what ended up happening is then it became a dump site for everybody doing rehab. And so there's an alley. Well, it's not actually an alley. It's a street behind Indianapolis called Nice Street. And since we've owned that property for the last 6 or 7 years, we've been clearing that street from overgrowth. And that's a street. I shouldn't have to do that so cars can get through. And I'm not doing it this year. So I'm putting you on notice. It's called Nice Street, and somebody should be taking care of that besides me.
Yeah, so I believe that would be our Area 10 MNA, and that is Ana Santiago. And Solange, if you can do me a favor and pull up the slide with our contact information while we're taking questions, that would be really helpful. Definitely, Joyce. Reach out to Anna, and I'm going to give her a heads up about your concern as well. Definitely reach out to her. She is super helpful, and she can, help gather a better understanding of what we can do here. But thank you for raising that. That's really important.
Stephanie, do you want to go ahead and ask your question as well?
Yeah, thanks everybody for giving us the space to ask questions. My name is Stephanie Marshall. I am the president of Brendan Park Civic Association. As I believe I understand it, I think we have a stand-in neighborhood advocate. I think it was Carrington the last time we spoke, but I don't know whether that's official or we moved on or what have you. But my question is surrounding the Devington Shopping Center and trying to figure out how to advocate for our community. There is a buyer for that property who is not working in collaboration with the neighborhood. And as a matter of fact, they're doing quite the opposite. And so I'm needing to try to figure out about resources, or how we can impact that. They are set to close in June, and it sits right next to Arlington High School on the 46th and Arlington side. And we're just having really, really challenging, difficult conversations with the buyer and their representatives. The buyer is out of Pakistan, so everybody we're talking to is just the representation of that group, not the actual group. And it's becoming very frustrating, the sale of that property, because once, of course, it transitions hands, we don't have a lot of say so, but we're not getting anywhere. And I'd like to know what resources we have to help facilitate change, or if we can transition the neighborhood to a TIF area, or what our options are, because as it stands right now, the Devington Shopping Plaza isn't going to be what we had hoped it'd be. And we're really running against a rock and a hard spot. So any information or resources you can share in that light would be helpful.
Yes, I can address that. So I know recently, as in the beginning of this year, there was a developer who was interested in purchasing that property. He'd come to the Devington Neighborhood Association meeting one time and spoke about it. I don't myself have a lot of information, but I do have two contacts that you can refer to that has a lot more information. The first being Ron Gibson. He is the current president of the Devington Neighborhood Association, and also Ashley Gervix with United Northeast Corridor. They've been working closely with the new developer that's been interested in purchasing that property. So I can send you that. I can send you those two emails. And you can also email me as well if you have any further questions on that.
Thank you, Carrington. I have been in contact with Ryan. I have also been in contact with Keith and Ashley, so they're aware as well. And we have been sharing our thoughts, but Ashley is extremely busy. So she can't really help as much as she'd like to. I'm just trying to figure out where we go from here, since our properties all sit adjacent to Devington. So you don't have to worry about sending me that information, although I do appreciate you providing that. I have been in communication with them. I just need some additional help. So maybe I'll send you an email and we can all collaborate on trying to figure out how to get over this hump.
Okay, sounds good. I also have, I think their neighborhood meeting is coming up. I want to say next Tuesday. So I'll also ask some questions there about that as well.
Okay, thank you. And Carrington, are you our permanent neighborhood advocate, or are we still in limbo there?
Oh no, I'm your permanent mayor's neighborhood advocate.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, no problem.
Hi, this is Kenya McMillan with Citizens. I don't have a contact, but is this area have they painted the area with like multiple colors, the buildings?
You're talking about, did they paint Devington?
The property that they're looking to purchase permanently, have they did some painting and everything? I'm trying to think about the area that you're talking about.
No, you're probably thinking about the same area. It's on the side, kind of where they did originally a community center. Now the buyers or whatever didn't do that, but there was a point in time where an association or a group of organization painted the side of that property. You probably are thinking about the same thing, but right now it really lays kind of dormant and desolate, but there's no work being done in that area right now.
Okay, the reason why I was asking is because there's a couple of, I don't know who the property owner is, but like in the Lafayette Square area and a couple of other areas, I know that there was a property owner, and what you're telling me just sounds familiar to other areas. So I would just, I'm glad that you're really diligent. I would just encourage you to continue to, yeah, because I feel like this is the same developer, but I don't, with you not saying the name, I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know the current developer who is exchanging hands is out of New York. I don't know where he is based out of originally. I know that's the shell company, or the company he works out of is out of New York. But I know the new buyers are out of Pakistan, and their representatives, they acquire representatives through, the realtors and things like that. And those are the individuals we've been talking to.
So you may want to see if it's the same one that has purchased Lafayette Square. And maybe be able to go from there to see our contacts if that's the same buyer.
Okay, I'm willing to explore it. So thank you.
Perfect. I think Ron Rice, you might have been next, and then we'll go to Greg, and then we do have some in the chat as well.
Okay, thank you. Hey, everybody, my name is Ron Rice. I'm the community builder of the 7 neighborhoods in the near Northwest, and also the project manager for the Diabetes Impact Project in our area as well. I remember the very last M&A meeting that we had, and at the time we were kind of in flux with having an M&A, like a permanent one and whatnot. And I just wanted to take a moment and say thank you to the mayor's office, but also to Susan. You have been outstanding. I'm not speaking on just myself. I'm speaking for the residents. I know the Northwest Landings neighborhood president is on this call right now, and she will definitely agree with me. You have been amazing to work with. You've gotten stuff done, and I just want to say thank you. I think you've done a great job.
Thank you. That's so sweet. You guys are always singing my praises, and I never know what to say, but thanks so much. It's really sweet.
They're deserved.
Thank you, Ron. Greg, did you want to share as well?
Sure. Couple matters. One, I just get this vibe through Mayor's Action Center Request Indy that there's certain things that the city just exempts itself from. Abandoned trash carts is one example. Another one is when new trash gets dumped at a property where a property had already been ordered to clean up, that the city only cleans up the existing property. Somebody's got a radio going, Mary Lowe maybe. Okay, so and then also city-owned properties, when requests for cleanup are made for there, they seem to exempt themselves. So those could be some systematic things to fix, okay? Rather than, I don't know, whatever kind of it feels like the city protects itself from taking care of certain things, and those are examples that I came up with. Now, also, I live over on Hamilton near Michigan, and I can look right out my front door and see the former women's prison. I'd love to see that be an eco city. That's a pedestrian centric urban design. Okay, so we could tremendously reduce our pollution. And I just discovered today something called Community First Village in Austin, Texas. And it's done a lot to help people who were previously homeless. And it'd be just great to throw that all together. I'm not a big believer in throwing a whole bunch of poor folks all together. I think it needs to be mixed. And I don't know if they're doing that or not, but mixed income levels, that is. But so I just wanted to put that out there why I had folks' attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. And you mentioned a few things on the top of your comments regarding abandoned trash receptacles and something else. Are you seeing those in a particular area of town? I missed your intro of what neighborhood. you're in.
Everything that I mentioned was on Hamilton on my block.
Okay,
On
so
the
then your east
400
side.
block in North Hamilton. I took care of the trash carts myself. I emptied them, and I think I delivered the trash carts to the city trash system guy. I had his phone number. I even called him directly, and he wouldn't do it. I think they were intimidated by all the trash and the weight of the trash and the trash carts and didn't want to bother. I'm sorry, what else was there that you mentioned?
Was there something else before you mentioned the women's prison? You mentioned the trash carts and what else?
Oh yeah, when the city orders trash to be cleaned up and then hires a contractor to do the cleanup, the contractor is only obligated to clean up what was there when the inspector came out. Okay, so that means it forces us to put in another request to Mayor's Action Center or Request Indy to pick up the remaining trash. And I've seen this to be, come on, can't the contractors request, higher pay or whatever they could get right on the spot when they see more trash than they were ordered to pick up? Why does it have to go with this cycle of calling Mayor's Action Center all over again? Okay,
Gotcha.
so I'm challenging you on that. And the other one is there's a city-owned lot, and it's been a mess for quite some time. And from what I gather from talking to people who seem to know, the city can just exempt itself from cleaning up the property. It doesn't have to take action.
Thank you again for repeating those things. I just wanted to make sure I
Sure.
had my notes correctly
Sure.
written down here. Yeah, I do hear your point about it being this cycle of needing to call something in again. And, we really do look at everything that we do in order to serve our community and you all as neighbors. We look at it as more collaborative. We all live and work in this city. And so as neighbors and as good neighbors, it comes with being vigilant of these things and reporting them where you're seeing them. And so I do thank you, Greg, for staying on top of those things and for even taking initiative and trying to make things work where you were seeing a solution was needed. I definitely would love to encourage you to continue to reach out, to the MAC, but also if you're not seeing a response, about the trash carts or even the additional trash that's in the area, connect with your MNA, who is Jacob Barnes, and we could think more creatively. Like we can have some collaborative conversations on how to schedule neighborhood cleanups, and we can look at a few other things that are ongoing near or in your neighborhood specifically so that we could come up with a different solution. We do look at you all as collaborators. There's a lot that we want to accomplish from the city perspective, but none of it would be possible without the intel and the information and the vigilance that you all provide. So we're really grateful when you're able to provide that. I know it can be frustrating to deal with the systemic issues that can take place, but we do want to support you, and by communicating with us, it helps us do that. When it comes to the abandoned lots, I will say something that we haven't been able to get into here in this presentation is the the very strict line between dealing with public property versus private property. And I will just remind everyone here that the health department, Marion County Public Health Department, is a separate entity that than the public facing, or I should say the public property that the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services deals with. So it does, there may not be something specifically that, you know, our contacts can do, but it doesn't mean, like Susan mentioned earlier, it does not mean that this problem is not being flagged for the health department. And that we are looking at creative ways to better communicate with the health department as well. So again, all the information that you can send us, Greg, is really, really helpful. And we're continuing to think through how to solve some of these issues that come up with ongoing reporting or the limited budget that we work with sometimes. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. Regarding the women's prison as well, I think your MNA should have some updates on that. That is state property, so it's a little difficult for us to make any changes that we might want to see as a city there. But I think if you reach out to Jacob Barnes, he should be able to get you an update on that property. I think I saw another comment in the chat about the women's prison site. So, and we have, you know, connected with neighbors about this site. The state has held some meetings, of course, but it's up to them ultimately on if they are going to take neighbor feedback or not. If you know Joey Newsome near your neighborhood, I believe he's one of the other neighborhood presidents that has been working really closely on trying to get this site to be something beneficial to the local area. But again, it falls under state jurisdiction there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just really appreciate this conversation. We have a few more comments. David, you actually commented something in the chat, David By, about the litter. And wasn't sure, I see you have your hand up as well.
Yeah, same thing. It was sort of a second related question. My issue is litter in the city generally, and that's what I try to improve. I noticed a lot of places, and I'll take the example of bridges over creeks, which routinely around my neighborhood here in the Pike area are always problematic. I guess they're public property. And since we have inspectors roaming around, I just wondered whether inspectors actually look for problems as opposed to just being reactive to MAC tickets. In other words, do they do proactive looking for issues as they drive around the city, or does somebody else perhaps do that? And if not, why not?
Prior to the pandemic, yeah, that's a great question, David. Prior to the pandemic, there was a lot more proactive inspecting going on. They had a lot more staff to do that, and with more staff members, you have more time. And really, since 2020, there has been a significant shift in the workforce, the available workforce. And I think this is not something unique to our city. It's also not something unique to our state, as I'm sure you all are aware. It is something that, you know, the BNS inspectors and our city as a whole have been looking at. We recently were able to have a compensation study completed and implemented that the City County Council had approved so that we could attract, you know, the workforce that we were seeking to do some of this work. But it has been an ongoing challenge that we're continuing to work with and find solutions to. So, you know, to summarize, absolutely, proactive inspections are something that we want to be committed to. It takes that workforce in order to get back to that state. So we are continuing to look at that. And if there are significant problem areas or just as you're driving along and you're noticing things as a leader in your area, feel free to snap photos, click some photos on your phone and email those to your MNA and just keep us in the loop like that. And again, we can be problem solving collaborators on our own when it comes to kind of overcoming some of those other workforce barriers that we are experiencing.
Okay, so you say basically the inspectors are not tasked with doing proactive litter reporting at the moment.
They are tasked with it based on their availability. So it's first responding to the reports is the priority, responding to those reports. And then once they have, gotten to the bottom of their caseload, then they look to do some more proactive things. And we have had in the recent past, we have had conversations, internally from that directorial standpoint of how to increase that kind of proactive reporting, especially when it comes to litter, because we don't want to see, our city continue to face that issue. So I will confirm that it's an ongoing conversation and they are charged with that task. It's just not always easy to get to it,
Okay. Well, I'm sure many people on the call follow your suggestion. We snap photos. In my case, I take videos, I put them on YouTube and put the links in the MAC tickets. It seems like the inspectors couldn't always see the videos, which might be a technical issue. Maybe they don't have access to YouTube, but yeah, I mean, that's obviously the approach most of us take, is to document the issue and report it, because we all like living in a clean city. So we appreciate what the city does, but as I said earlier, quite a lot of the tickets get ignored. Large swaths of Guion Road, as an example, from 56th all the way to the southern end of it. It was a disaster at Christmas, and it's not much better now in a lot of cases. Just an example.
Yeah,
but,
thank you.
Hopefully you can hire more people and things will change. We'll see. I hear the pandemic's over now, so hopefully that gets solved.
Right. I know we're all masks off and living free these days. It is interesting to see the significant workforce impact that is ongoing. I mean, even we agree, we're looking to resolve that issue. And I would just echo some things that have been shared already on this call. But, just echoing, if you submit a MAC ticket, don't hesitate to email that MAC number and whatever photos or videos you have to your MNA directly. I will say on city equipment, we do have certain websites blocked. So we don't really click on external links very often. We have to be really careful about that. So it is actually better, if possible, to send those directly to your MNA, or even through Nextdoor, if you can email them or DM them directly on Nextdoor to your MNA.
It's maybe something to check offline, if YouTube would be allowed to allow videos of problems to be linked to MAC tickets. Photos are attachable, but videos are not. So YouTube's a free resource that we can use. Maybe an exception can be made for that. Anyway, thank you.
Thanks.
And a quick point added on to that. There are some designations for MAC reports that don't allow for pictures to be added. I'm not too sure which ones those are, but if you aren't able to attach those pictures, again, send those over to us and we can send those along to the proper channels as well.
So I am doing my best to try to keep up with the chat and see what's kind of already been resolved and what hasn't. So if I missed anyone, please let me know. The next one that I see is around if anyone has an update on the plans for the old juvenile center.
So I believe that is a county center. And that would be, I am not too sure where that is. I am checking right now. That might be something, and Jenny, we can help you with this, since the community justice campus that opened last year is in your area. They might have more information. on, what plans there are for that juvenile center. But
I think
uh,
the new center that you're talking about the one in Twin Air, that would be La Cima. Is that correct?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's in my area.
Okay, yeah, apologies. I think it is in your area there, La Cima.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed that. So you were asking about the old one or the new one?
They're asking about the old
So the old one
Justice
is
Center.
not in my area, I don't believe. The new one
But
is.
okay. So the probably the people who, if you have any contacts at the community justice campus, they might have like an idea of what that will be, and that probably would be a good, opportunity to connect with you. And sorry, I'm reading here.
And maybe
Whoever
would that
asked that
person
question.
who asked the question in the chat be willing to clarify their question here, going off mute, or maybe even just typing it in the chat again?
Hi, this is Jacqueline McMillan Dunn, and I did ask the question as it relates to the status and or plans for the old juvenile center located on 25th and Keystone. At this point, the juvenile center has been moved to the Justice Center. And so as a neighborhood person, I want to know what the plans are. Does that clarify my question? Do you need more information?
That is perfect, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for your question and for being on this call. I think that we can have a more in-depth conversation about it. Carrington, I do believe that falls in your area 7. And if that's incorrect, we can clarify that on our end. But Ms. Jacqueline, we can get those updates and get them to you.
Okay, and my other question.
Ms. Sharon.
I'm sorry.
Sharon, this is Pastor Baker. I serve on the leadership team in the Twin Air area, and actually juvenile center that's on in Twin Air is not even built yet. So everything that's still on 25th Street is still going into the new building. It's open. And there is still some conversation going on between who's going to stay at the old building and who's going into the new building.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. My second question in the chat room is, what is the approach the city has to the ongoing dumping? And the dumping problem is citywide. It's just not just in my community or someone else's. It's across the city.
Yes, thank you, Jacqueline. We are really lucky to have very strong partners in the organization Keep Indianapolis Beautiful, and we are always wanting to follow the lead of community members like you who are actively vigilant of this issue. If there's any connections that we can make to KIB, as we call them, Keep Indianapolis Beautiful, we would be happy to do so. They have proven, again, to be a very strong partner in coordinating and scheduling a variety of neighborhood cleanups. The Department of Business and Neighborhood Services here at the city also work very intentionally to schedule neighborhood cleanups throughout the warm season. So that is from spring through the fall. They're doing helping neighborhoods host neighborhood cleanups with either dumpsters or packing trucks, sometimes both. And those areas from the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services are scheduled based on how many requests are submitted for that particular area. That is how they are prioritized. But Keep Indianapolis Beautiful as their own entity and organization doing neighborhood cleanups and assisting with tree plantings and other things, they are available to support any area who's interested in scheduling those kinds of cleanups. So those would be two immediate, things that I would bring forward. We also have the Office of Sustainability, which is focused on reducing pollution as a whole in our city. And they are actively putting out a campaign to reach our neighbors here in Indianapolis of, don't be a litter bug. So how we can really just encourage one another as community members and working together to keep our city as beautiful and as clean as we possibly can, to say, hey, let's not throw the trash out of the car. Let's not throw trash, away from any trash receptacles. Instead, let's get that litter put in the trash bins. When there are issues of dumpsters not being picked up or trash missed, that is when we definitely want to encourage and empower continued outreach from you all. To the MAC through the Request Indy app, or even emailing us directly and letting us know if your trash has been missed, or if you see an apartment complex, for example, in your area with the dumpster overflowing. A lot of times apartments contract their own trash services. They are within their rights to do that. But if they are not meeting their requirements on making sure their trash is getting picked up, there may be something that we can do to kind of elevate that need and flag it to the right people here within the city to get it addressed. There are some, bureaucratic issues when it comes to it being the apartment complex's responsibility, of course, but we do want to elevate your concerns. So just communicating with us and then working within with the organizations that are really intentional about this effort is good. And if you need the contacts for Keep Indianapolis Beautiful, your MNA should be able to definitely connect you in that way.
Perfect. I do want to loop back. There was a question earlier in the chat by David Bacon. And then Brian, I see you have your hand. You'll be next. So Pastor Bacon had asked about Christian Park neighborhood, New Vision Missionary Baptist Church, and had a question around historical landmark for the church. Pastor Bacon, do you mind coming off chat and telling us a little bit more about what your question was specifically?
Well, my question is I know my church is a post-World War II building, and the original owners was the Jehovah's Witness congregation, Christian Park Jehovah's Witness congregation, which built that church back in the 50s. Christian Park is a historical neighborhood on the southeast side of the city anyhow. And so I'm seeking help in order to get the building on the historical landmark city of Indianapolis, city or state of Indianapolis.
I believe, Pastor Bacon, you are in Lasima's area, which is area 9. Yeah. And so we are more than happy to assist in connecting you with the agency that handles that process, and also kind of walk with you along that that path. And it'll be, Lasima's new, of course, so it'll be a learning process for everyone involved. But there is a agency dedicated to this, and that is the Indianapolis Historic Preservation Commission. I did drop their link in the chat, and there are, with that link, there are many different tabs that can be clicked on to find where you would to find the form that would be required to be filled out. So there is the applying for a certificate tab here I'm looking at. There's other services that they offer as well. So it'll just take a phone call and maybe a few emails, and then filling out a form from the church's perspective. And then Lasima should be able to help and assist push that along.
Okay, could that be, could you send that link to my email, Brittany?
I can send it to your email. Can you provide me with 2 things, the name of the church and your email address? Are you able to put those in the chat room for me?
I sure can.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Brian, do you still have a comment or question?
Yes, I do. It goes back to the litter problem. And one of the sources of litter that I've noticed in our community comes with the way that we pick up trash now with the automated systems of picking up trash. And one of the problems is oftentimes people overflow their trash bins, and the automated system will dump the trash, but it also, if it's overflowing and the lid's not closed, you're going to end up with trash in the streets. And it does not appear that anybody follows up to clean up that trash that does not end up in the truck and ends up on the ground. And I don't know if there's a process that DPW could implement for of inspecting trash routes to do something regarding the overflows, or notifying residents about the problem of overflow and the litter that it creates when trash is not picked up. But there probably needs to be some adjustment in the way the system operates.
Thank you, Brian.
All right. I appreciate all of you neighbors. I appreciate the MNAs. This just shows how passionate people are for our city, whether they're on staff at the city or you're all volunteers or you just love our neighborhood and our community. And so I just absolutely adore this. I know it's hard, right? Like sometimes we get frustrated and we don't always see the progress. I do want to lift up something that I think Ron Rice was talking about earlier when he was giving props to Susan as a relatively new MNA. I've also seen, the MNAs that we have right now may not be the same MNAs that you had last year or 10 years ago. And I just really want to appreciate the current MNAs and the work that they're doing and recognize that sometimes we have bad experiences in the past, and I'm a big believer of letting go what happened in the past and just trying to move forward in a really positive way and be solution focused. And so Brittany, I really appreciate your comment about brainstorming and just solutions and the energy that you bring as new person in your role as well as a past MNA and now being the director of community engagement right now through the MNA. And so I just really enjoy this. We do have time for maybe two more questions. I feel like everyone might have got them out and you all may be ready to go have dinner. So I don't want to keep anyone too long, but I also don't want someone that's really like sitting on something that hasn't had a chance to ask their question to be able to do that. So want to give space for maybe one or two more questions and then we'll wrap up. And as I did share, I'll send an email after this with a evaluation where you can give us feedback on the info session. The presentation will be a part of it, as well as a link to our website. And I will upload this session. It just will probably be tomorrow. Greg, do you want to go ahead and ask your question or comment?
I'm going to respond to Brian. I'm reasonably certain that there is expectations of the truck driver to address concerns. I know at one time I was violating, but my particular truck driver, rather than putting a tag on my trash cart and tell me I'm doing wrong and he's not going to pick it up, he would knock over my trash cart. So that was taken up with, I don't know, some superior, but there you go. So I think if you get the word to the right people, Brian, you'll get that corrected.
I love it. I love the knowledge in the space. As some of you have been doing this work for a long time as just concerned neighbors, and so wonderful. Any last comments or questions as we then close up and you are getting your evening back? All right. The last thing I do want to share also is if you are a neighborhood group that has not participated in the neighborhood grant program, that is a non-matched grant program that many of you are probably eligible for. It's up to $10,000. If you have questions around that and want to know, does my neighborhood qualify? What do we have to do to get a piece of that? That funding, please reach out to me. You all have my email address. I emailed you all today reminding you of this session. So please don't hesitate. The next round, as I think Susan or Selinge mentioned, is in October. And we'd love to have some new neighborhoods apply and get a piece of that funding to make their neighborhood a little bit stronger in whatever way you need it to be. So thank you all for your evening. Thank you to our MNAs for presenting and being here and sharing and listening. And thank you all to the wonderful neighbors of Indianapolis. And we'll see you next time. We'll have our next info session in just a few weeks. So keep an eye out for more information.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Have a good evening.